That's when she turned around again. She took the flashlight off of me. She shined it back up there, and she said she's seen it standing right there, full on like skin hanging down from its head, the arms of the coyote hanging over its shoulder, and she said it was wearing like a jewelry, like a necklace, and there was like something around its waist, like bags and stuff like that. And she said that when she seen it, it smiled at her, and that's what really freaked her out, to the point where she almost jumped underneath the truck with me just to feel safe.
I'm Rye, your Kodega, here to lead you through the shadows of the unknown. My journeys have carried me across hidden corners of the world to places steeped in wonder, whispers, and unanswered questions. Walk with me as we uncover ancient civilizations, unravel unexplained phenomena, and chase the legends that refuse to die. Welcome to Kodega's Codex of Curiosities. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Kodega's Codex of Curiosities. My name is Rob. I'm the Kodega, and I'm here to guide you through the strange, the unimaginable, the peculiar, and the weird. And tonight, it's an accumulation of all of those. We've been having some technical difficulties, which seems to be the norm when you talk about these kinds of subjects, but we're working our way through, the internet issues, microphone issues, a little bit of everything, but it is what it is. So if you guys are watching for the first time and you liking what you're hearing, hit that subscribe. If you've been here before and you do like what you hear as well, make sure you guys rate the show. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, give it a 5-star. I would love that. And yeah, that's about it. Other than that, on Saturdays, you can find me on Cult of Conspiracy as well, dropping some episodes that you might not have heard before. And tonight we have returning guest, Mr. Lee. Lee has been on the show twice now, and he's brought some crazy stories with Skinwalkers, Bigfoot, and a little bit of everything else. Now, tonight, he says he's got a whole batch of different stories as well, so I'm really, really looking forward to that. All right, Lee, welcome to the show.
Hello, Ray. It's good to be back.
Yes. I'm glad that you're able to stick around as well, and like I said, we've been having some issues with internet and everything else. So thanks, Lee, for sticking around. And yeah, and I almost did give up, but I was able to get it to work through. So here we are. So Lee, what is new and exciting with you? Have you gone out with the guys from Don't Whistle at Night and done some more research? What have you gotten up to?
Well, not recently, but we are planning on a trip. Whenever this episode comes out, but we're planning one in a couple of days from here.
Yeah. This episode's not coming out in a couple of days, so about 3 weeks down the road. So you will have already gone on this excursion. So where are you guys planning on going, and what are you guys looking for?
Well, we're going to be going to a known hotspot for Bigfoot, and it's going to be in Dulce, New Mexico. So we're going to be heading out with some other members of the area or the community that it's at.
Dulce, New Mexico. That has some history with it as well. There's that secret Dulce base there as well. Some stories surrounding that as well. So that sounds like you guys are going to have a very interesting night there. I'd love to see those pictures and videos. And when you guys are looking for these hotspots, do you know that place personally, or do people reach out to you and contact you and say, "Hey, you guys got to check this place out"?
Well, we were actually invited out, to be honest, but for me personally, I've never been there, so it's going to be a first for me.
So, what are you bringing to the show tonight, Lee? You brought some amazing stories in the past. You had that Skinwalker that was climbing on the roof of the house of your mom, and then its head fell off, and then you tried burning that, which was an incredible story. So what are you bringing tonight?
Well, I got a few pictures that I was actually um I asked my teammates of the One Soul Night if I can share them, and they all agreed I can. So I got some of those, and I got uh, a Dogman that I actually recently remembered, and also when I was personally haunted by an Anasazi.
Anasazi. I I've heard that term before. What is an Anasazi? E- Perhaps you have told me, or Darren or Don has told me this. What is an Anasazi?
So I spoke about it in one of my episodes. I think it was the first one, but it is a quote unquote tribe from way back in like the 1500s time. And there was a lot of speculations of how they disappeared, but to be honest, I don't know which one is the correct one. So,
Oh, okay. So why don't we start there? Why don't we go back into the lore of what happened to this tribe? I know you did say you're not sure exactly which one's the true one, but let's hear let's hear that story so we can set the stage.
so they're a tribe that was originally here in the Four Corners area of the United States, and they were known to be cliff dwellers. Some say that they're like the ancestors of the Pueblos that are here in New Mexico, and for whatever reason, they pretty much just up and disappeared. And they just left behind their houses on the cliffs, and they just left behind their potteries and pretty much their belongings, basically.
You know, this is not the first time I've heard this type of disappearance before. There is a story in northern Canada. What is the name of the tribe? But there's two warring tribes, and this one tribe just disappeared completely as if they were just instantly vanished. Like when you said they left their pottery and everything, this is the same type of scenario. Now, this valley is called the Valley of the Headless Men because so many people that go there after this fact don't come back with their heads. Um, but it's quite interesting that you're saying that. Like it's, I don't know, it's like they went through a portal or something and just gone.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's, like I said, there's speculations that they might have moved to a different area because there was a drought, a long term drought. So they moved. But also, they're also saying that there was a sickness that came through and pretty much wiped them all out.
It is there any stories about um, other extraterrestrial or anything like that, or anything along that line that might be a little bit of a stretch? Is there anything along that line?
None that I heard of, but there are actual cave drawings or petroglyphs, if you will, of like UFO type things, uh, like hovering above them, kind of thing. You know.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's so you were hunted by them or by it. So take us into that.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. This happened back in 2019. Um, so, but it kind of goes back a little further than that because growing up, um, I kind of mentioned before that my mom was a Christian and my dad was traditional, so it was like getting both side of both worlds, I guess. And we, I was raised kind of both ways, like I said, but in doing so, I didn't really know much of the traditional side, and I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to bother the potteries or destroy them in a way. So whenever I would be kind of walking behind the sheep, because we were sheep herders back when I was younger, and I would kind of shoot them with my BB gun or my pellet gun, and I didn't know that was a big no no to us. So just recently, like maybe about 6 7 years ago, I found out you're not supposed to bother them, and kind of leading up to one night, I was sleeping, and I thought I was dreaming. I really thought I was dreaming, but it was like my eyes just woke up and I was just looking around and I just happened to look to my left and I just happened to see this like black figure right there. And some would call it a night terror, but I was like frozen. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even like ask or yell for help or anything like that. And I was just kind of just staring at it. And it wasn't moving, but I can hear it breathing. And then it just kind of like turned around and it just kind of vanished. And it's just like that's when I actually woke up and I was like breathing hard. I was trying to catch my breath, and it was like I was actually like living it, but I was actually sleeping. So I don't know if I was astral projecting, but the night after, I couldn't sleep, and that followed up for another 3 more nights. So like basically 4 nights in a row, and up until the fifth day, I finally did get some sleep. But when I woke up, it was like maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I woke up and I just seen a face literally like maybe a foot away from mine. And when I tell you this face looked like disfigured and I can see like their crooked teeth and just kind of hair up in their face, and it was just like hovering above me. And I don't really remember my reaction, but it was just like I freaked out, and I remember I jumped up and I was like punching the air trying to hit anything that I could, but there was nothing there. And pretty much the next day, um when the sun came up, I I started experiencing like tingling in my left side, which was kind of weird to me. And then I had to go to work that day. And then like following the next 2 days, it just kept building up and getting worse up until my whole left side got numb to the point where I couldn't pick up my arm and I was like basically dragging my foot just to walk. And I was like trying to figure out what was going on. And it got to the point where my whole body was like convulsing, where it was like just shaking nonstop. And I actually went to the hospital for it, but the hospital couldn't find anything wrong with me. And they actually flew me out to a bigger city where they can do more tests and everything. But even there, they could not find anything wrong with me up until I finally got released from the hospital. And my dad took me to a medicine man, and that medicine man did his whole thing right there. And he just kind of looked at me and he was like, "What did you see? What did you see that night?" And then I was like trying to think back, and I finally remember what he was talking about. And I told him that there was a black figure standing next to me. And he told me, "Was it this tall?" And he pointed like maybe like to the size of a toddler, maybe about 3.5 feet tall. And I told him, yeah. I told him it was pretty much that height. And he told me that, oh, okay. And then he started doing stuff in his bag. And he told me, here, hold this. So I held it, and he pretty much told me it was an Anasazi that you saw. And that's what scared you awake that night, and you saw it. And it's basically the ones that you bothered by shooting their pottery. And mind you, I never mentioned any of this beforehand, nor my dad, because it was someone that we knew personally, but we never mentioned any of this to him. And he just pretty much kind of figured it out by doing his thing. And that's when it was like an eye-opening moment to me. And he told me, this is what we're going to have to do for you. This is the ceremony that has to be done, but it can't be done tonight. And he said, I'll just do something temporarily for you, but it's just going to help in the meantime. And in doing so, he did it for me. Next day, or that night, I went home, and when I tell you, I had the best night of rest I've ever had. And the following day, I was like feeling a lot better, but then it hit me twice as hard up until maybe about 3 days later. That's when we finally went back to his house, and he finally conducted the ceremony for me. And to me, I had my doubts because after the ceremony was done, it felt like nothing was getting better. But then maybe about a week later, what I would assume, it just hit me. and I was able to pick up my arm, and I was able to move my face around, and it was just like there's just like a whole bunch of weight just lifted off of me. But then later on that evening, towards the nighttime, I can hear something like walking behind me, and I was like facing the wall. And when I turned around, there was nothing. And then I just laid down. I was hoping to get some sleep. And then out of the corner of the room, I can see like a shadow moving like that across the room. And I just kept following it. And it followed me all the way next to the bed. Like it was just following the wall. Even though the light was in the corner of the room, it just followed the wall. And it just stopped right here next to the edge of the bed. And I was just kind of watching it. And I pretty much just said out loud, like, if you're going to do something, just do it. And I'll find a way to get myself better. And then it's just like it vanished. It's just like turned into like mist, like against the wall. It just turned into mist. And after that, it just stopped bothering me up until maybe about a month or two afterwards. I can hear like a person laughing behind me. And I told my dad about it. So we went back to that medicine man, and the medicine man did another thing. And he pulled a pottery out of me, a piece of pottery that was placed inside of me. And he pulled it out of the ashes, and he showed me. And it's kind of crazy because if you were to look at the ashes, you could see the actual designs on the pottery. And I was like, what the heck? Like I said, what the F? And I don't cuss in front of my dad. So I said, what the F? And my dad and the medicine man both looked at me. And I remember that's the very, very last one I ever shot. I don't know how that memory came back to me, but it was like the very last one. And I remember because it had spirals in it. It was like just like a square shape, and it had spirals in there, like a water ripple. And pretty much that's what he pulled out of me. And after that, that's when I stopped hearing the entity or whatever was behind me that was following me around.
Wow, that is incredible. I got a couple questions for you, Lee. First, well, maybe not questions, but maybe observations about this. Uh, so when you kind of said you got to do what you got to do and hurry up, it's almost as if you stole its power because I think they feed off fear. They consume it, some kind of energy for them. So when you said that to them, I think you actually stole its power away because you're like you said, just do it. I'll find a way to counter it. So, in my opinion, that's why it disappeared on you. It's like, oh, there's nothing more to take from here because you have kind of cut it off. And when you said your side was starting to become numb, a lot of people will contribute that to a stroke. But you went to a hospital and got all these tests done. We can't find what it is. That eliminates that. So it is something else. And when you went and visited the medicine man and he was able to like pinpoint and pretty much help you, you it's not like just this physical, it's part of the spiritual realm that's transferring to your physical. And you said it's like a 2 or 3 foot high being that you were describing it as, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Because after he told me that, I remembered what my mom was telling me when she was actually haunted by Anasazis as well. So that's what kind of led me to think of it like that.
Okay. And after that, after that pottery was pulled from you, do you mind if you describe that a little bit more? You said it was in the ashes. Can you describe how that happened? Can you? I just don't understand. If you could just give us a little bit deeper explanation about that.
So, um, in a way, sometimes, me personally, when I try to help people out, when I'm pulling things out of them, they expect the full on object to come out of them, but sometimes it's placed inside of them where they have to throw it up. And that's what the medicine man did for me. He used his feathers and he was just kind of like, brushing my stomach area. And I was like thinking like, what the hell? Like I was trying not to laugh. And like, mind you, like I said, I didn't really have much, experience in my tradition, but I knew to respect it. But then in kind of doing so, it kind of got back at me, and he started going up further to my throat, and that's when I felt like a buildup in my throat. It was like a big like bulge in my throat, and I remember instantly when I felt that, I just started throwing up. And I remember he grabbed me by my shoulder and he pulled me towards the ashes, and he told me to keep throwing up into the ashes. And in doing so, I think I threw up maybe about 20 to 30 seconds or so. And after I was done, it was just like, it was just like a weird, like smell coming from the ashes. And that's when he grabbed his little fire poker, his little fire stick, and he started pulling that out. Like he just started separating it, and he made a hole. And then that's where that square pottery was at. And then that's when he showed me what it was.
Wow, that is incredible. Extremely bizarre. But I guess that's the spiritual world that we live in, right? It's we we are in constant battle. There is this constant spiritual battle, whether someone believes it or not. Yes, extremely incredible. So I know you said you really didn't know much about the tradition or anything. So I need to ask you this off question. It's not pertaining to anything we've discussed already, but what directed you to become a hand trembler?
That part, it wasn't me wanting to be one. It was just something that I became aware of after um, basically getting it. Because, like I said, after that whole thing that happened with the Anasazi, I would still get convulsions on my left side. But then that night that it happened, my family thought I was being attacked by the Anasazi again. So they did their whole thing by basically covering me with ashes. But it wasn't stopping, because normally it would stop it. And that night it lasted for like maybe a good 2 hours. And finally, after, it felt like my body was being compressed like that, just basically being squeezed in together. And then after like 2 hours or so, it finally just released. And the only thing was shaking was my hand. And that's pretty much when my family knew what it was. And they told me to talk to it and communicate to it. And in doing so, it was like hearing like a voice in my head, and it was telling me stuff about them. And it was like to the point where I was actually able to hear their thoughts, which was like the crazy part to me.
Uh, of course, anybody would be. Yeah. So it wasn't as if you chose it. It was as if it chose you to walk this path. That's I never heard that from you before, so it's very interesting. So of course, thanks for sharing that. Now, what's next in this in your path here? So of course, you said being stalked by the Anasazi. Um, where are we going next with this?
I can tell you where I might have, or I'm pretty sure it was a Dogman after like recently watching the movie Silver Bullet.
Oh, that
Um,
that's an oldie, but a good one.
yeah, yeah. I just recently remembered it after watching it. It's like, I don't know if it was a repressed memory, but just after seeing that movie, it just like remember. It's like I remember seeing something of that, and after like a couple of days of thinking about it, it kind of hit me again. And that one, I don't remember how long ago that was, but it was when I was a teenager. And I remember one night I was sleeping, and I was having this weird dream of like something banging on the door. And I remember I walked out of my room, and I just happened to look at the front door, and you can like hear it banging on the door, like someone was knocking on it. And it's crazy because it felt so real. Most majority of my dreams sound real or feel real. And during that time, like I said, it just felt so real. And I remember seeing my parents sitting at the couch, and I was just looking at them like, "Are you guys hearing this?" And I kind of looked back at the door, and it was like banging on it again. And it lasted for like maybe 20 seconds or so. And then all of a sudden, the door just swung open, and there was a big creature standing right there. And it took a step in, and as it came into the light, at first I thought it was like a skinwalker in my dream. But when the body came more into the light, it became, well, I guess what you would call a werewolf. And it was just like standing there looking at me, and you could see its mouth grinning, and just like the snout, and then the teeth showing its teeth basically. And it was just looking at me, and I remember yelling at it and telling it, "Get away from us! Get away from us! Leave us alone!" And when I was yelling that, I guess I heard myself yelling that out loud, and I woke up, and I was like, what the F? Like, I just scared myself awake, you know? And I remember my dad coming running into the room, and he was asking me, "Are you okay? Are you okay? I heard you screaming." And then I told him, "Yeah, I just had a bad dream." And then he's like, "Well, go put some ashes on. Go put some ashes on and say a prayer for yourself." So that's what I did. And during that whole day, I was like thinking about the dream, but it didn't really bother me the following day, because that's when my dad had to go to work because he was working out of town. And later on that night, my mom fell asleep, and I remember I was sitting on the living room, and our couch at the time was facing towards the front door, and next to the front door was an actual window right there. And I don't remember what I was doing exactly, but I know it was pretty late at night. And my grandmother's house isn't too far off, and there's a street light right there which shines into that window. And I just remember kind of looking up at the window, and I just caught a glimpse of something standing right there. And I looked back again, it was gone. And then, maybe about 5-10 minutes passed by, and I looked back over there again, and that's when I seen something actually standing right there. And the way it looked it was like really tall, but I could just see like just like this part of the eyes looking at me, and the ears were pointed up, and it looked like the way a dog would be looking from inside the window. And that's when it kind of stood up more. Like, I was thinking, how tall could it be? And it stood up more to the point where it was like showing like half of the teeth looking at me, and the eyes started illuminating. And it was like looking at a like brake lights pretty much from a vehicle. It was giving off its own illumination, and it was just kind of staring back at me. And the part that I'm still questioning myself on this part is, why didn't the dog start barking at it? And it stood there for like maybe a good 2 to 3 minutes just staring at me. But just seeing the silhouette and the outline of it, it looked exactly like a werewolf looking back at me. And it just took off. But this time I can hear it running away on the gravel, and it ran up somewhere up the hill. So
Okay, so when you said its eyes illuminated, what color were its eyes?
it was red.
All right.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Do you feel that it was a being of some other sort that invaded your dream and then manifested as a werewolf out front there? Or was it a werewolf that invaded your dream and then showed up at your front door?
To be honest, I was thinking about that just right now. I was wondering if I actually manifested it through my dream. And but then again, it kind of correlates with that story with my uncle seeing that hyena type creature. And my uncle doesn't live too far from us as well. So it could have been that looking at me as well.
And what color was the fur if you could see it? Was it nighttime or was it during the day? Would you be able to describe the fur, something like that? Was it short or well kept?
I couldn't see the color of it because, like I said, I could just see the silhouette of it.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if I can say anything about the fur, it looked like it was like hairy and kind of matted, because you could see where there was like a little bit of dreadlocks or whatever it was kind of sticking out from its hair.
Wow. And how old were you at that time that when that incident occurred?
I think I might have been about maybe 12 or 13, if I can remember correctly.
All right. Wow. That is very intense, especially around that time, going through puberty and whatnot. I've heard a lot of incidences where people are going through puberty and it really elevates, I guess, their raw power or these incidences to occur. Even, oh crap, what's the word? Uh, poltergeist events as well. That's it. It's the children themselves that are creating this raw energy that is coming through them as they're changing through their hormones and whatnot. Very interesting. Okay, so yeah, did you manifest it or did it invade your dream? I've I've heard of these things. I I had a friend who had a very intense experience with a dogman, and he was around 14 or 15 years old. And just recently, like 30 years later, it came back into his dream and it was telling him, you need to stop talking about me. Otherwise, I'm going to come back and finish what I started.
Hmm. That's very interesting as well.
Yeah. Terrifying. Terrifying nonetheless. Okay. So that's an interesting story that you had there. Now, these events, a lot of time we do suppress them. We push them back and we hide them. It's kind of a safety mechanism that we've created. And then we try to rationalize them away as well. And then we have something that triggers them. Like you said, you yourself, you're watching Silver Bullet, and next thing you know, it just floods right back. And yeah, it's incredible. It's just that these triggers have happened. And I wonder how many of us have had that happen where we have had an incident, and for the safety of our sanity, we repress those memories to as a self-preservation, and it's just waiting for that one trigger for the doors to flood open, and yeah, and just to like wreak havoc upon our lives. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So where are we going next with this now, Lee?
I can tell you another one that I just recently remembered. My sister actually reminded me about this. Is when we both seen a skinwalker watching us when I broke down
Okay.
in my truck.
Well, let's go with that.
Yeah, this one was kind of recent too.
All right.
This one happened like maybe about 3 years ago. I was working out of town, about 3 hours away, and I got let go, or I got out of work about maybe 6:30 in the evening, and it's like a 3 hour drive. So I was just taking my time, so I didn't get back into the area where I live in. It was about maybe about 11 to 11:30 at night, and I was heading back up to my dad's house. And for whatever reason, I mean, when I was getting closer to my dad's house, my truck started giving me trouble with the brakes, because the brakes started feeling really spongy, and it wasn't like slowing down as fast as it should be. And I got maybe about 3 to 4 miles away from my dad's house, and my whole truck just came to a stop. And I was like, what the F? Like, I was trying to figure out what was going on. And I turned it off. I started again, and I tried doing everything that I could just think about. And then I got out of the truck, and I went around just looking to see if anything came off. And that's when I crawled underneath, and that's when I seen that my brakes actually locked up on the front passenger side. And that's when I called my sister, and I guess she was asleep already, because the way she sounded when she woke up. But I told her to bring some tools over and a jack, because apparently I didn't have a jack in my truck. And she took like maybe about 30, 40 minutes trying to gather all the tools and everything. But during that time, I just kept like hearing noises when I was trying to like check out the brakes. I kept hearing noises behind me. And behind me, there was like a little incline, like a little hill. And there was some trees in the area too. And I kept hearing noises back there. And I just assumed there was horses or cattle back there. So I didn't really pay much attention to it. And that's when I called her, and I asked her, like, are you done yet? Are you done getting it ready at least? And then she told me she's still trying to look for some tools. So that's when I said, okay, well, I guess when you get here, you get here. So that's when I jumped back into my truck. And I was just on my phone, just kind of pass the time. And that's when I seen the headlights. and I knew it was her, so she pulled up. And fast forward about 30 minutes, I was underneath the truck, and she was holding the flashlight from me. And we heard like a loud branch snap, and that's what got her attention. And she took the flashlight off of me and she shined it up there. And from what she told me was that she seen what looked like a person standing right there and then jumped behind a tree. And I was like, oh shit. Like, and that's when I crawled out and I grabbed the flashlight, and we're just shining it right there for about a good 2 or 3 minutes or so. But then nothing happened again. So I just told her, just leave it alone. I mean, if you kind of show fear or you try to manifest something, then it's going to pretty much show itself and start bothering us more. I said, I'm not scared. That's the reason why it's not bothering me, or it's not showing anything to me. I said, you're the one that's scared, so it's revealing itself to you. And she kind of got closer to me when I was underneath the truck, and she kept telling me, she's like, brother, I keep hearing it. And I was like, well, don't be scared. I just kept telling her that, trying to like calm her down, And I finally got the brakes kind of taken off, and that's when she turned around again. She took the flashlight off of me. She shined it back up there, and she said she's seen it standing right there, full on like skin hanging down from its head, the arms of the coyote hanging over its shoulder, and she said it was wearing like a jewelry, like a necklace, and there was like something around its waist, like bags and stuff like that. And she said that when she seen it, it smiled at her, and that's what really freaked her out, to the point where she almost jumped underneath the truck with me just to feel safe. So me being the older brother, I kind of got mad and I chased her out, and I told her, get in the truck, or I said, you can go home. I said, it doesn't really matter. I mean, either way, you're going to be stuck with seeing whatever it was. And she chose to stay there, but she didn't want to get in the truck because she wanted to make sure I was okay as well. So I went back to my truck and I grabbed my handgun out, and I told her, here, if this makes you feel safe, hold on to it. So she held on to my gun, and she was like constantly taking it off of me and shining it back up there, until I finally got mad at her and told her to keep the light on me. And it took like maybe about an hour and a half or so to finally get my brakes fixed. And just then, as soon as we were getting ready to leave, I heard a whistle, and that's what got my attention. And I told her, stay here. I said, stay here by the truck. Give me the flashlight and give me the gun. And I started making my way up the hill. And I probably got like maybe 15 to 10 feet away from that tree where it was like trying to hide from us. And I basically yelled out to it, and I told it that you don't scare me. So that's the reason I'm standing right here. I said, if you don't want to show yourself, then just basically leave. I said, you don't have any power over me. I said, there's nothing that you can scare me with that I have not already seen. And that's pretty much when I raised the gun up, and I told him, I also have a firearm right here. So if you continue to do this, I'm going to take a shot up there. And basically you can hear like someone walking away from that tree, which was like kind of weird because it sounded like it was on four legs, like the way an animal, like a big animal would be making its way through the trees. And that's when I turned around and my sister was standing behind me. That's what freaked me out, was that she was literally standing behind me and I didn't hear her. And she was standing right there. And when I turned the flashlight around, I shined the light on her face. And yeah, that made me jump. And I was like, what the hell are you doing right here? And she's like, I was scared. So we ended up walking back to the vehicle, and she got in hers and we took off home. But later on after that, later on throughout the night, I kept hearing like something tapping at the kitchen window. And when I heard that, I got up and I opened the curtain, but there was nothing right there. And that's when I walked out with my handgun and flashlight again. And for whatever reason, I felt like the direction that it was standing in. So I remember I shined the flashlight up there and I pulled my handgun over there. And I just started hearing like a lady laughing at me. And that's when I took a shot over there. And you could just hear it running off after that. But then after that, it didn't bother us again.
Wow. Now, okay. So dealing with skinwalkers, will a gun actually cause any damage to them, or do the bullets have to be like silver bullets, like the movie we were just talking about, or does there have to be something done to the bullets, or any type of medicine that you use to keep them away or at bay or to hurt them?
Yeah, we as Navajos, we have our own type of medicine to counteract whatever they're trying to do. But if you're deliberately trying to hurt them, ashes on your bullet would work. But you can't just like drop it into like the ashes and cover it. You have to like bless your whole firearm, whatever you have, and then basically shoot at them. But I also have a story where um I was trying to shoot at one, but I seen the bullet curve away from it. So, and I did have ashes on the bullet as well.
What? Okay. You need to tell me about that story. You got to
Okay,
talk
so
about
this one, it was happening when I was really young, um, maybe about 7, 8 years old or so. But like I said, my dad always worked out of town, so he taught me how to handle a firearm. And the only one that he would let me use was a little 22 rifle, and it was very old, very very rusted, and not well taken care of. So you would have to load it one by one. You take a shot, you have to load it again, take a shot, load it again. So it would always jam up. And that night, it was like, I remember it was summertime, maybe about 9, 10 o'clock in the evening. And for whatever reasons, all these stories always happen when my mom was asleep. And I kept hearing like a screeching sound coming from the tree that's kind of close to our house. And it went on for like maybe 20 minutes or so, but the dogs were barking, so it didn't really get my attention. And it wasn't until I heard like a person scream or yell, and that's what got my attention. And I got up and I walked outside with a flashlight and I was shining it around, and I just happened to shine the light up into that tree, and there was an owl sitting right there. And I just basically made eye contact with the owl. And when I tell you, I got chills throughout my whole body. It just felt like my arm, the hair on my arm just raised up, especially my neck, everything just like, it just creeped me out. And what got my attention of thinking that it was a skinwalker was that the face didn't really look like an owl. It looked more like human, like especially the eyes. It looked human.
Wow, that's creepy.
And you know how owls have like really round eyes, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But this one actually had the eyes of a human looking at me. And
that is
I was like, oh,
disturbing.
yeah, so that's what got my attention. That's when I knew it wasn't an actual owl. So that's when I ran back inside and I grabbed that 22 and I walked out and I took a shot at it, but the gun jammed on me. And I was like, oh shit. That's why I ran back inside and I hurried up and put ashes all over it and I put ashes on the bullet. And I walked outside and it was still sitting right there. Like it was just waiting for me. And it kept like screeching at me. And that's when I pulled the rifle up and I shot at it again. And it's just like looking at it in slow mo. You can see the bullet curve away from it, and it's like it started like hooting. But when it was like hooting, it sounded like it was laughing at me. So I just hurried up and reloaded it again, and I took another shot at it, and it curved the opposite direction again. And I was like thinking, why am I not able to shoot it? And I reloaded it the third time, and that's when I shot at it again. But it just did the same thing. It curved away from it. And after that, it just like, I don't, I don't know exactly what it did because it sounded like it talked to me. Like it said something to me, but it was like where I could not understand it. It was like between a hoot and a screech sound, but it sounded like it was trying to speak, like basically like the way we are right now. And it flew off and it flew north. And in our tradition, kind of like how to describe it basically was anything going north is a bad sign. And after that whole thing happened that night, I remember my mom got sick really bad a couple of days later, and she was admitted into the hospital like maybe about 4 or 5 days. And I didn't really put two and two together until, like I said, after I started learning more about my tradition, where I kind of really realized that that owl was there. And I think it might have put something onto my mom to get her into the hospital. Yeah. Skinwalkers have a way, or a lot of different ways of witching people. Corpse powder is one of them. That's the main thing. Putting bones, potteries, even something as spiritual as an arrowhead, teeth, and a lot of different objects. I mean, I even heard of one where a person threw up a bunch of dirt. So they do it a lot of different ways.
Okay. You kind of caught me. You got me caught at corpse powder. What is corpse powder? I mean, of course, I have my thoughts about it, but I'd love for you to actually let me know what it is. My mind is wandering of what that actually is.
So skinwalkers, they do a lot of things that are supposed to be taboo to us. And one of the main things that are no to us is bothering people that have passed on. And for them, they're like grave robbers in a way. So they would go to bodies that have recently been buried or something, and they would actually take pieces of their skin, or either that they would take their bones, and grind it up, and they would mix it with other herbs that they know of that cause harm to people. And they can actually enter homes even though they're locked, and they can actually like sprinkle it onto them. Or even if they're like someone happens to walk outside their front door at night, they can just be on top of the house and just sprinkle it onto them. And in doing so, that basically kind of puts a curse on you.
Wow, this is crazy. Like some really strange things are happening, and this is what you're faced with continually. You know, you I find, and the more that I do these interviews, that when I interview natives, I find that they have way more experiences, whether it's them themselves or on the reservation. The frequency just seems to build, and the frequency of these events or these encounters, it's it's just so much more than what many other people will have for encounters, and it it seems like you are constantly, or I'm sorry, you have to constantly be on edge and have your guard up because there's something in the woods waiting for you, or watching you, or on your roof to dust you with corpse powder. Wow, it's a little dangerous walking that walk.
Yeah, and it's not just exclusive to them doing it at night. I mean, you can walk into a store and they can just brush up to you and basically put it on you like that as well.
I'm like, this is crazy at Walmart or at the 7-Eleven. You next thing you know, you're cursed. The Skinwalker has cursed you. Wow. All right. So
Yeah.
what's the next event or next story that you'd love to get us into? But you did send us a picture, a footprint. Why don't we talk about that?
Yeah, that footprint is something that we found when I was out in Farmington, New Mexico with Don't Whistle at Night. We were doing an investigation over there, and it was our second time out there because the first time was kind of cut short because of what Don kind of said Don was what he said in his episode was where we got shot at,
Yes.
and it was kind of cut short because of that.
I I don't blame
So
you.
we went back over there for round two. Yeah, I mean, they didn't shoot at me, but I was on top of the hill where I kind of heard and seen where the shot came from. But that's it's kind of like trying to find something in a dark room. You can't really see it in a way. But
And for those who are wondering what they're talking about, you need to go back and listen to Don's episode that I had, Don't Whistle at Night. I believe it's called that. And then you'll find out what happened. All right. So you guys came back for round two.
Yeah, we came back for round two, and I wanted to do a size comparison because I actually, me and another teammate actually seen something up there where that picture was taken on our first night out. And that one was where there was something actually crouched down in a little valley. And I wanted to do a size comparison with Don because he's a little taller than me. And I wanted to see if it kind of compared um, to what I saw. But when he was up there, he looked way smaller than what it was. And back during that night, I was looking up there with my night vision camera, and it was just like a silhouette of a person crouched down, and their eyes were illuminating off of the night vision camera or the moonlight. So, like I said, that's what I wanted to size comparison. But when he was up there, he called back on the radio, and he said he found footprints. So me and Darren made our way up there, and I thought it was just a normal person kind of walking barefoot, but the distance between the stride length was maybe 6 to 8 feet apart.
Okay,
And
that's huge.
we did,
Wow.
yeah. And then we did the size comparison with his phone, with Don's phone. So he said his phone is like maybe I think it was like 6 to 7 inches, somewhere around there. And he did a size comparison with his footprint, with his boots, and he wears like a size 13 and a half, if I remember correctly. And it was like basically the same length as his foot, or his foot basically. And when we found that, it went from the top of the hill where I just happened to see whatever it was that night that we were there a few months prior, and it walked down the hill towards the little community that's right there. And that community has well over 100 stories of Bigfoot bothering them because it's an area where they do farms where they have livestock. They grow watermelon, squash, corn. They have all that stuff in that general area right there. And it basically made its way down there. And there's also a river that runs through there too. So it could have been just getting something to eat or something to drink. But we tried to rule out every little um, thing that it could possibly be.
Yeah, that stride length, that's immense. You know, even if it was a person with big feet, 7 to 8 feet kind of stride length, uh, like they would. I have no idea. They'd have to be leaping from one to the other, and you would see that in the footprints as well. So I would say it would be next to impossible to keep that up. And I like that you guys were saying, it could have been a person walking, but then you take into account the stride length and then also you said it's about 13 and a half foot size, like the 13 and a half foot boot. That's big. That is a fair size. And not all Bigfoot have to have huge feet. Maybe they're like growing into it or something like that. So it's not like a 17 or 18 or 19 foot. Not foot, but size foot. Now, I was going to ask, isn't it say, you had told me that this community has a lot of Bigfoot issues. So I'm assuming that's what you're thinking that this creature that was crouching there.
Yeah, we do assume it was Bigfoot, and maybe a juvenile Bigfoot to be exact.
And the size comparison when Dawn was there crouching, how tall is Dawn?
Well, me personally, I'm 5'11", and Don is like maybe 3 or 4 inches taller than me, so he's pushing over 6 foot tall.
Okay, so he's like 6'2", 6'3", and around there.
Yeah.
So when he was crouching, there still was no comparison to this creature that was there. And it was just that much bigger than what he was.
Yeah, it was that creature that I saw was bigger because it had more broad shoulders than him, and it looked more wider when he was crouched down in that same area. It looked a lot wider than him.
Okay, all right. Wow, very interesting. So that was your trip back And you were able to discover footprints, and you checked on the stride length of it as well, and comparing the size with Dawn crouching that same spot. Now, was there anything else that you guys found or saw at that location?
We didn't see anything else during that time because we went back during the daytime. So we were actually going to go back there at nighttime, but we didn't want to get shot at again.
Fair enough. I don't blame you either. Uh, who's who's to say it was just a farmer thinking it was you guys were Bigfoot and that's what he was firing off at you. So nonetheless, I would not like to be at that area at night and have bullets whizzing by. Okay, so you've gone on some other investigations. So and you sent some more photos, right?
Yeah, that one was the same thing. That was on our first night out, right after I saw that figure standing in that little valley. When me and the other teammate actually walked up on top of the hill, and this is all kind of prior to before we got shot at, because after I saw that figure standing right there, I just happened to started taking pictures with my night vision. I started taking pictures of the ridge line, and I did some recordings, but it did not process on my SD card, so I cannot get that footage. But the pictures that I did take were the ones I sent you, and that one I zoomed in on it, and when I first saw it, I thought it was a star above the ridgeline. And after coming home, I uploaded it to my laptop and I just kind of messed around with the settings, and I noticed that there was a figure right there where that little speck of light was. And I know I sent you 3 pictures of it, one during the daytime, and if you can look back on it, there's actually nothing right there to give off like a little outcrop of a rock or something during the nighttime picture. So, and then mind you, when we were there on location, that um that ridge is very, very steep. It's a very steep incline up there. So there's no way a human could be up there, let alone an animal, without falling off. So whatever it was up there, it might have been a skinwalker, because right after that, as Don said in his episode, there was an owl flying above us, and it flew low enough to me and the other teammate that we can actually hear the wings flapping on top of us. And that's when it happened to fly towards where Don and Darren were kind of at the cave.
Always those owls, right? You know, there's just something. I think that they're like
Yep.
messengers to some. They're harbingers of death or bad news. When they hoot, they say that someone's going to die. What do you see that as? And do skinwalkers use owls often?
Yes, to us, they're a type of messenger, and they're basically a type of bad omen in a way, if you will. Like I said, that the one that I saw when I tried shooting at it, it was basically telling me that it was something there, but it was an actual skinwalker, because the way they do their things is very odd, because they have to get the skin or feathers, if you will, of the animal and basically rub the blood and the fat all over themselves. Then they can apply their paint, and then they sing their song, whatever their chant or whatever, and then that they basically start turning into the animal. So they can turn into owls, crows, coyotes, horses, cattle, sheep, dogs, basically whatever you see in your everyday life. The only thing I have not seen yet is them turning into insects. So that kind of rules that out for me.
Fair enough. That might be kind of difficult to use the parts of mosquito, whip off the mosquito rings, and have them rubbed all over you.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe they're headed that way. Well, that's a scary thought. You know, skinwalkers are a lot of the general public has a misconception of what a skinwalker is. Now, perhaps a lot of people believe that a werewolf is a skinwalker or something like that. So, How would you correct them? And because so many people say, oh, I saw a Skinwalker, but it might have been a werewolf or a Dogman. So what would you tell them to look for or to differentiate between those?
Well, first of all, the general location, because skinwalkers are mainly kind of a Navajo kind of thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, every other tribe or every other region of the world do have their own type of shapeshifters, but the difference between them is that for us Navajos, it's where they actually put the skin on. They sing a song and it basically transforms them into an animal. And they also can run around with just the skin on and basically witch people with it as well. And I see a bunch of like videos on YouTube, TikTok, what social media basically that do say it's a skinwalker, but they're always out like in, I don't know, like New York or Los Angeles kind of thing, and that kind of grinds my gear a little. So the main thing I would say
Yeah.
is just the general location.
What grinds your gears? Yes. All right. So general location is what you're saying. And I do know that like here in Mexico where I live, there's a lot of brujos, male witches that do shapeshift. And a lot of times they will turn into a black dog. And of course, black dog seems to be something that is tied with a lot of other supernatural. But the funny thing is, the reason
Hmm.
that, well, they're for hire is kind of what they are. And it's because of jealousy, because jealousy is such a big thing here. If your girlfriend doesn't trust you or your wife, she will hire a brujo or bruja to shapeshift into a dog or an animal or a familiar to stalk you and to spy on you and just to go after and see if you're cheating on her. And it does sound funny, but this is true. You know, it's not that everybody was sitting there and talking about this. Like it's not everybody has this, but I've heard it enough times that I'm mentioning it here on the show. A friend of mine, he was talking about another friend of his, and this friend was out with his friends, and there was this black dog that kept following them, and the one guy got mad, and he's like, "Oh, it's my girlfriend," or my girlfriend sent the brujo after me. So they throwing rocks at it to scare him away. And he was in the belief that his girlfriend hired the brujo to spy on him. It's crazy. But okay. So let's go back to enough of me talking about that. Let's go back to your stories here. And I do get sidetracked sometimes. Is there anything else you want to bring up tonight?
I got a tiny story about that. A
Okay, let's
bruja.
hear it.
It was when I was it's a tiny story, so but I was walking around at the local swap meet here, and I was just kind of looking at things, and I came across this little boy. Um, he came up to me asking if I wanted to buy some of those those little Mexican candies. There was one with like chili and everything on there, and I told him I don't have no cash on me right
Mexican
now.
candies and chilies go hand in hand.
Yeah,
You'll always find that.
yeah. So I told him I don't have no cash on me right now. I'm going to the ATM, and he said okay. So he ran back to his grandmother that was right there, and she was selling those what do you call them? Those agua frescas or something like that.
Yeah. Agua
Um,
frescas.
it was like cucumber watermelon drinks or something, but she was selling them right there. Yeah, and then the crazy part was that I made eye contact with her, and well, like I said, my hand trembling tells me things about people. And at that very moment, it was like we made contact with each other, not just in a physical form, but on a spiritual kind of thing. And it looked like she's seen what I am, and it also my hand trembling also told me what she is as well, and it told me that she's a bruja basically, and that's when I just kind of like looked at her and I just kind of started minding my own business. I walked by them, and then after we got like maybe 20, 30 feet away from each other, that's when it told me, but she's not a bad one. She's a good one. And that's what kind of gave me a little bit of questions, but the second go around, I just avoided that little area right there. I just stopped walking right there and I just went back to my truck and basically left after that. But I don't know.
I was curious if you're going to buy some water from her. Maybe if she is a good bruja or witch, maybe there's something infused in the water to help you with your health. But maybe nonetheless, I'm not sure if I'd actually still trust that and purchase that water. I would be a little wary about that.
Yeah, that kind of just left me more questions than answers. So
Yeah, I think it's better to err on the side of caution than take a chance. Perhaps it's I've heard too many stories about people selling things at these flea markets and at these fairs, and when people go and buy it, like I don't mean drinks or food or anything like that. I mean like items, like objects or idols or something like that. That it's sometimes a cursed item, and then it's kind of like a life altering thing where their life becomes very difficult until they get rid of it. Now, I, I can almost relate to that personally because I have this story. I'm not sure if I've ever told you this, but I was well, I do get I've gotten a lot of messages as well, kind of like that little message that tells you something. And I was driving home from El Paso, Texas to Chihuahua, Mexico. And and a lot of times when I get these messages, I don't really ever tell my wife. I just kind of be like, "Oh yeah, I knew that." And she thinks I'm full of it. She's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, sure." So this time I decided I'm going to. So I told her if I stop the car on the side of the road, it's because there is a bird of prey that I'm supposed to find, and that its wing is going to be waving at me like this. And so she's like, okay. And not even 20 kilometers. I guess what is that, 15 miles or something like that, or less than that. I saw an owl, dead owl on the side of the road with its wing waving like this. So I went and I harvested the wings, and I tried my best to bury the owl as best as I can on the side of the highway. And I took its wings, but I would say after that, things in my life have become very difficult and things have changed for the worse. And I really think that something was attached, or I brought in something bad. And I've actually I had both of them, and I got rid of one, and it kind of disappeared. But the second one, I got rid of it recently, fairly recently, like maybe just over a month ago. And and strangely enough, things have been changing ever so slightly. So I think we always have to be aware of what we're taking into our house and what we're grabbing, and also make sure that voice or that whisper that we're hearing has our best interest as well.
yeah, I mean that kind of goes hand in hand with us Navajos because we're always told not to be just picking up random things off the ground, especially being feathers. Um, Feathers are the main things that we're not supposed to pick up because you never know if it was left there intentionally because us human beings, we're just naturally curious, right? So we see a feather on the ground, we're just going to pick it up, not knowing that someone might have put a curse on there or just left it there specifically for you. And especially that being said for arrowheads, because I live in a very like mountainous area, and whenever you're going up there, you can literally find arrowheads. Not everywhere you look, but you can find them, and you don't know if they're used for hunting or if they're used for war, basically. So they could be some type of bad bad or negative energy with it that you're bringing with you. And also another fact is, like I said, it could be just placed there for you specifically, where you can pick it up and it kind of brings on a curse to you.
It it makes complete sense actually. And I should have been talking to some Navajos many years ago because I might have been picking up way too many feathers, way too many items that I should not be touching. And I've actually got rid of most of my collection of feathers, and I have some eagle feathers still. But there was one vulture feather that I had a dream about. And the very next day, I'm walking down the road, and I see the exact feather on the side of the road from my dream. You know, I did keep that one, and there is a couple that I did keep, but for most part, I have now parted ways with pretty much all of them. Yeah. Yeah, I've been picking up way too many things, and maybe that they were put out there for me to see and to be enticed by them, and I have taken way too many of them, and I've been getting rid of it. So I've been clearing a lot of things here out of my life now. But enough of me. Now, Lee, is there anything else you want to say? You know, I know we're getting close to the end here. Do you want to give your guys at Don't Whistle at Night a shout out?
Yes, of course. I had to give out my teammates, Don and Darren, Don't Whistle at Night podcast every Saturday night, YouTube live, and we also have a Patreon as well that has 3 episodes. 2 of them are of us talking about Skinwalkers, kind of more in depth with them, and another episode of basically a friend of ours that actually told their personal experiences with, or horrific experiences with Bigfoot and a Dogman. So if you guys are also interested with that, feel free to subscribe to us.
Yeah, definitely. So everyone, go check it out. I love that show, Don't Whistle at Night. You guys do a lot of work together, and I think you guys are fantastic. You guys are now going out into locations. I would love to be a tag along on those ones, just to see you guys work and to see what you encounter. I'll be a camera guy in the background hiding. But Lee, I want to say thank you so much for coming on. It's been great as usual, and I'm glad we're able to make this work, with all those technical difficulties. And it's still not 100%, but we're able to make through. So again, thank you so much for being patient and coming on the show.
Yeah, for sure. This is always a great thing for me to do, especially for you, Ray, and always to be there to support as well.
I appreciate that, really. All right, everyone. That was Lee. Him and his buddies at Don't Whistle at Night podcast. Make sure you guys go check them out. They have some crazy experiences, like combined. They have just so many. So, yeah, go listen to their show. I'm sure you'll hear so many more. And if you ever see the opening of that show, you just might recognize a voice on the opening of that show. And again, I want to give a shout out to Lee for thanking for coming on, sharing all these stories and these experiences, and a lot of insight that I think we all needed as well. Some things that grind his gears, maybe that grind many of his gears. So we need to pay attention to that. And we, not everything's a Skinwalker. Skinwalker is location. The other ones are shapeshifters, so make sure you guys realize that difference as well. So if you guys are enjoying the show, and I really hope you are, make sure you guys hit that like. If you're listening, hit that 5-star. And I really appreciate you all. So until next time, everyone, keep your curiosity wandering, keep your light lit, and always find your way home.
Beneath the stars where shadows grow, the Nephilim's echoes whisper low. Bigfoot roams through the forest deep, and Dogman prowls where the brave won't sleep. Across lost history we wonder why, seeking the truth that time tried to hide. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit, through the darkness don't ever quit. In the codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home. UFOs streak through the velvet skies, aliens watch with unblinking eyes. The paranormal hums where silence breaks, in the void of secrets a lantern wakes. Through hidden realms and stories untold, the cold gas flame is the light to hold. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit. Through the darkness, don't ever quit. In the codex, the mysteries come and always find your way back home. UFOs streak through the velvet skies. Aliens watch with unblinking eyes. The paranormal hums where silence breaks. In the void of secrets, a lantern wakes. Through hidden realms and stories untold, the cold gas flame is a light to hold. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit. Through the darkness, don't ever quit. In the codex, the mysteries come and always find your way back home. Legends rise from the earth's deep core, a lost legacy we can't ignore. With every step, the veil grows thin, revealing worlds where the strange begins. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit. Through the darkness, don't ever quit. In the codex, the mysteries come and always find your way back home. Giants, cryptids that come